Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Falls Count Anywhere here on the Rhode Island Broadcasting Network. Thank you all so much for joining in and tuning in here. This is Eric Dunn, and I'm once again alongside legendary New England wrestling promoter Tony Jones as we are on episode number 2 of this podcast and of this broadcast. And the last time that we guys were with you, it was our debut, and we were talking a lot about Impact and AEW, but we also dove into WWE's Night of Champions that was live in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, that Saturday that week. And you know what I have for you guys for WWE is we're actually going to go over the results of Night of Champions and also tie into a combination of the SmackDown results from back on June 2nd, and then the Raw SmackDown and the Raw results, sorry, on June 5th. So we're gonna like make like a little combination of them both together, um, and be able to give you guys the aftermath. What also happened after Night of Champions. So a lot of WWE to also get into, and also a very saddening news from earlier today with Iron Sheik, the Hall of Famer, passing away. um, you know, we're also going to get into what he meant to this company, what he meant in the beginning stages of this business, and how he was able to build himself into maybe giving the Attitude Era, or before that, the foundation for the WWF. So we'll also be diving into that as we get closer to our segment for WWE. And this will all be coming at you throughout our time together. So that being said, I'd like to inform all of you at this time that this broadcast of False Count Anywhere is the exclusive property of Rhode Island Broadcasting for the uses of our audience, and any publication, reuses, or redistributions by anyone is not prohibited. It is given the expressed consent to be shared worldwide and is greatly appreciated. Sometimes the words just can't get out. My bad. It's all good. Um, but hey, Tony, it's awesome to be able to see you again. Honestly, you're definitely looking very well. I mean, you look good as always. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I know I know that you've got a lot to dive into with AEW and also with Impact, and we are getting closer to AEW coming to TD Garden in Boston for their debut in Boston, which is awesome for TD Garden. But hey, you got some news on Impact, and I would love for you to take some time to give a little share about that.
Yeah, last time we talked, we were going into Under Siege, which I know I mentioned it last time, but if you have not given Impact a try lately, check it out, because I thought that Under Siege, the whole show, was fantastic. Now, I'm a little biased because I am an Impact fan, but
Well, of
the
course, that's
main
obvious.
event with PCO was very, if you haven't watched it yet, the main event with PCO and Steve Macklin was very reminiscent of ECW. Now, to the point where, I'm a fan of this stuff, and even I found the main event hard. The spots involving cinder block, barbed
Sure.
wire, a lot of blood. I mean, now, again,
Mm,
lifelong wrestling fan, someone who knows the backside, the business side of it. And even
yeah.
I was thinking to myself, like, has this match gone too far? Has PCO bled a little bit too much? And then I started thinking about, him bleeding all over the arena. And I felt like I was watching ECW again. So even if you don't check out the whole pay-per-view, if you're not an Impact fan directly, think about checking out that main of Steve Macklin for the Impact World Championship. It was brutal, absolutely brutal. So now that was only 2 weeks ago. Impact already has another, I guess are they called pay-per-views anymore? What are they? They're premium live events, right? If we want to get the
Yeah.
vernacular
That's what. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
next premium live event.
Well, the thing is, Tony, premium live event is really I've only seen for WWE. I guess you could still call it pay per view for like AEW for Impact. But yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah. Go
think
ahead.
people still. I subscribe to Impact Plus, watching it there, and folks that have Peacock, they're watching WWE pay-per-views not paying per view, but I guess technically we are paying. Anyway, I don't want to get into the vernacular too much, but against all odds, right, coming back up. And we were talking about against all odds for TNA before it was Impact, very popular between 2015 and 2012. And then 2013,
Yep.
they discontinued against all odds. They went to showing one night only. And now this June is going to be June 9th, Friday night in Ohio, against all odds 2023. And I think you were right. We were talking off the air that it should be, if it's going to still be called against all odds, it should be in some kind of a gambling
Yeah,
area. You
sure.
know, I would even settle for Fox or, you know, one of the other casinos around here. It is going to be in Ohio on Friday night, but it looks like it's going to be another decent premium live event.
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. And just to stop you for just 1 second, I also forgot to mention for all of you guys that are fans of False Count Anywhere and will be in the near future, we go live. Obviously here on Facebook, off YouTube, and off of Twitter and Twitch, and we actually have a couple of some viewers off of Twitch. So for those that are watching, we want to give a special shout out to you guys and say thank you so much for being fans of False Count Anywhere and joining our foundation. But yeah, False Count Anywhere, Tony, it just brings back memories from TNA. I mean, you mentioned this earlier too. 2005 to 12 was the foundation of it, but how ironic was it? 2011, that pay-per-view actually reminds me of a man by the name of Ken Anderson, Mr. Anderson, and that was the night he became TNA World Heavyweight
Yeah.
Champion against Jeff Hardy because it was a double main event. He basically, off of an Eric Bischoff pushed call, you know what I mean? He defeated the Blueprint Matt Morgan after a 25-minute match, and then he had to go through another 30 minutes with Jeff Hardy. And at that time, Fortune and Immortal were both, you know what I mean, together. So you looked at that and you were like, well, how the hell is he going to win this? And Mr. Anderson did it. And, he, in my opinion, is someone that was always great with his promos. I'm telling you, he was an energetic man. Like, he could make anything seem exciting. You know what I mean, Tony? Like, Ken Anderson, you know what I mean? He had his problems in WWE. I think we could see that. But when he went to TNA, though, it was like the training wheels came off and he was him. And, the truth is, he got involved in some heelish turns when he joined Immortal. And then he had a small face turn before he joined Aces and Eights. But I mean, when Ken Anderson, though, was a face, though, everyone could love him. And I think, when you look back at like historic moments in TNA history, you can look back on Against All Odds and be like, you know what? That was the beginning that Fortune was starting to turn on I'm Immortal. And Hogan and Bischoff were going to be seen for who they really were, who in my opinion were scumbags back then as their characters of taking the company away from Dixie Carter. Like there's a lot of TNA history when you look back on that and say there were some good, some were bad, some were ugly, but they all built the foundation of this company, which is now Impact.
And that's not unlike Trinity Fatu, who made her debut at the last pay-per-view. And, people are saying that she really wasn't given her due in WWE, wasn't given the opportunities, and that she's going to be
Sure.
next big wrestling because they're going to give her the leadway and the time to shine, as a main event wrestler and a main event character. So it should be interesting to see her progress. She'll be on this next pay-per-view too.
Yeah, it's funny because she was Naomi in WWE, and she's actually married to Jimmy Uso. So I just found it funny how she's off there. Sasha Banks is in New Japan. Like it. I mean, funny how they started with them, right? They walked out of a live Raw backstage and just said, "Ugats."
That's no way to make friends.
And that's it. I think in my opinion, this is how you burn a bridge.
Yeah,
Like whether it was right or wrong, you still burn a bridge, you know. And I think if you're gonna do that, don't do it when the camera's on. Do it behind closed doors when the camera's off,
yeah.
because I think a lot of people that are fans of WWE and AEW and Impact, they don't really understand that when the camera's on, they got to be on the money, but when it's off, they're either the same person or they're not. And if they're not the same person, behind the closed doors, a lot can go down that a lot of wrestling fans completely just um what's the word I'm trying to find here? Neglect, and they
Yeah.
like overlook. That's why when I say that this wrestling business, it's not a sacred business anymore. Like there's nothing secret about it
No.
whatsoever. Like everything that will happen will be exposed. Everything that gets done is going to be revealed in front of the world. Like honestly, social media has changed the face of this business. Television too. Like everything that we thought it was 10, 15 years ago, not anymore now.
And you have to think, she was Naomi from 2009 to 2022. I mean, for any wrestler, that's a long time to be on one
Absolutely, you're right.
contract for one show in one
Yep,
situation. And
yep, I agree.
throughout that whole time, she's starting to feel like just now in 2023 with Impact, she's finally starting to get that opportunity to,
Yep.
or potentially is going to have that opportunity to show the whole thing, what she can do, not worrying about the behind the scenes drama and any of
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
just like Mr. Kennedy slash Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, absolutely. I oh boy. I mean, hmm, you know it's you know, it's funny, Tony, when you think about it, right? Impact, as you mentioned that schedule. Actually, Tony, before I go any further, do you happen to have Impact's current schedule by eyesight by any chance?
It was
Because I
one of
know that you mentioned Against All
the
Odds is
things I
what,
had pulled
this
up.
Friday?
And yeah, so they'll have their regular show on Thursday. Then they'll have Against All Odds on Friday. And then I know they're heading to Australia. Now, I'm not sure if it works the same as other companies where some folks head to Australia and some folks stay here because to another show on June 10th here. On June 23rd and 24th, they'll be in Atlanta, Georgia. But then on July 30th and July 1st, they'll be in Australia. So I'm not sure. Then again, with the travel schedules, maybe it is a lot of the same folks, or if they split it in, there's going to be a group in America, there's going to be a group in Australia, and then right after that, on July 15th, is Slammiversary, which is their WrestleMania, for lack of a better term. So
Yeah.
between now and the end of July, July 28th and 29th, they're going to be back in Chicago. And then in August is when they're having their show. I talked about it a little bit last time,
Yep.
their show with New Japan Wrestling here in Philadelphia on August 20th. So, I mean, between now and the end of the summer, they are running a full-blown schedule.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I was always confused about. Slammiversary is always on the anniversary of when TNA was created, but everyone says that Bound for Glory is the most important pay-per-view of the entire year.
Yeah.
Sorry. Um, Honestly, that I can never really wrap my head around. Because for like WWE, they have one date, WrestleMania. That's the main event of
Yeah.
every year. But I think when you think about it too, you mentioned Australia. Do you remember Melbourne, Australia, where WWE had their Super Show? I think that's what it's. I think that's what it's called, right? The Super Show is that's what it's called, or is it or is it a Superstar Show? Do you happen to know what the full name of
Mm-hmm.
that pay per view is?
Yeah. I know Super was involved, but
Oh, I got it. Super Showdown.
mm-hmm.
Why did I not? Well, why did I not think that? Oh, also, just as a small note, Tony, um, there is a comment here that that says you need the JWO. Do you happen to know who they are?
Well, I was gonna drink this and say that it was Fago, but it's not Fago because I don't drink soda. But this will be my fake Fago shout out to the JWO.
Do you mind telling me what that is? Because I've never heard of that.
You never heard of the JWO? It is the Juggalo World Order, much like the New World Order or the Latino World Order, or how many world orders
Yeah,
were there? About 25. But they are the Juggalo World Order, and we have here in New England some prime members of the Juggalo World Order. If you look on their Wikipedia page, you'll see names that we have in our local New England wrestling market right up there with the big guys. So, it is, again, an embarrassment of riches when it comes to New England wrestling.
sure, of course. Well, that's good clarity. Thank you. um, so to kind of like get like some things going here too. Um, the guy that also gave the comment was Rob Fuller, if you've heard of him. Um, but anyway, so we are getting closer to AAW coming to TD Garden in Boston. They're making their Garden debut. I mean, I have to tell you about AEW for a second. How funny is it for a company that's been active for less than 4 years almost? I mean, what a long way this company's gone. Like, they're about to go to TD Garden, potentially sold out. I mean, they've hit the stretch run, man. It's just amazing when you think about how far Tony Khan has come since he did this. And you know, it's it is pretty astonishing though when you think about who created AAW and what the main purpose was. But here's the truth about it: nobody will ever topple WWE as long as it's in business. I don't care if it's Vince running it, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. I don't give a damn who. Shane McMahon, Nick Khan, doesn't matter. WWE will be heads and tails above everybody else until the day this company is gone. No one will ever touch WWE. And, you know, sure, Impact's got a big schedule, but for WWE, it's still 300 days a year. And when you see why these guys are making more money than anybody, that's because Vince knew how to pull the puppet strings behind the scenes, but he also knew what the hell to do. And I think for WWE, I mean, there's just so much that we got to dive into, and there's a lot to like break down. You know, um, but I'm telling you, like, it's just amazing when you think about it. That we had the Monday Night Wars with WCW, and we bought them out. Literally, we
Yeah.
we we bought them out. And then when TNA tried going live the Monday night, we talked about that during our debut show. It was a complete failure and a complete disaster because no one could ever compete with Monday Night Raw. I mean, you can't. And
Yeah.
I mean, especially during that time in like 2010, 2011, when Monday Night Raw was getting even bigger and better. Like, you had to look at that and be like, guess what? As long as John Cena was on that roster, you weren't gonna topple them. I mean, like, a lot of people didn't really understand how much John Cena really meant to this company, and the impact he brought with ratings and getting asses in the seats in plain English, for arenas all around the world.
Yeah.
But I'm going on track here, but like, you know what I'm trying to
And
say.
I mean,
But
that's the thing too,
yeah,
is that your average wrestling fan can set your clock by watching wrestling on Monday night, and a little lesser for SmackDown because it's moved around channels over the years and time slots. But as much as I'm a big Impact fan, people have to figure out, is it on Access TV? Is it still on
yeah, of
Spike? How
course.
do I get Impact Plus? Do I need to download an app? And people really know when they think of Monday, they think of wrestling, and
Yeah,
that's
absolutely, man.
almost
Yeah,
for several, well, two generations now. So
yeah,
that's
you're
going to
right,
be
brother.
hard to deprogram.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, you're right. And by the way, hard to believe that we've gone 20 minutes just going straight Impact, straight AEW. You know, um, but yeah. So I will tell you this right now. we have got a lot to dive into with WWE, don't we? Like there's so much. And I think for us, we were talking about Night of Champions, and we gave our predictions and we gave what we hoped would happen. There were a couple things that happened that we wanted to see, and I think on that note,
Yeah.
we need to take our only break. And when we do come back, as you can see, Birdman hands are rubbing together right here. WWE, we got to dive into Night of Champions. We have to break it all down. And we're going to go into Raw and SmackDown a little bit and give the results behind all that background. And this will all be coming at you when we return after this with a word from Road to Love Wedding Services and Lighthouse Services Rhode Island, and a word from your Rhode Island broadcasting stations. You're listening to Falls Count Anywhere and watching Falls Count Anywhere here on the Rhode Island Broadcasting Network.
If you're looking for an entertainment company to help you with your event of any kind, feel free to check out Lighthouse Productions, Rhode Island. Providence-based company serving all of New England, providing you entertainment needs in the areas of sound, lighting, photo booth, photography, videography, drone videography, monograms, slideshows, and of course, DJ sound. As a special bonus, we also have wedding officiant services through Road to Love Wedding Services in conjunction with Lighthouse Productions to provide you all of your wedding needs. Don't need a wedding? Fantastic. You need music or a reason to have entertainment for a party of any kind? We can handle all budgets and all sizes and all different types of venues. With COVID, there's a 100% money-back guarantee for any type of cancellation and rescheduling needs. Check us out at lighthouseproductionsri.com. Lighthouse Productions, Rhode Island, your entertainment source for all of New England.
I love that ending to that, don't you? That was the intro to "Living in America" by James Brown. For those that are of
Oh, nice.
old school music fans. Oh yeah,
I'll do the James
and
Brown
so
dance a little
welcome
bit.
back to. Oh, come on, boy! Come on, boy! Bust that, huh? Come on. Welcome back to Falls Count Anywhere here on Rhode Island Broadcasting Network. Eric Dunn alongside legendary wrestling promoter here in New England, Tony Jones. And that was a long spiel of going over the indies, but it's funny how we do that. But I think for WWE, there's a lot, buddy. There's a lot to break down. But I think,
Speaking of putting butts in the seats, that's what puts butts in the seats to watch this show. It's WWE coverage.
oh, you don't say. Putting asses in seats, huh? um, so I guess, Tony, I think what we could probably do is we could probably go from um this part and maybe just get this out of the way right now. Um, it was announced earlier today WWE Hall of Famer Iron Sheik has passed away, and and I mean the man was 81 years old, and this guy was known for the creation of the camel clutch. I mean, this guy, when you look at like the best, like the top 50 finishing maneuvers in the history of WWE, you can actually look back and see how the camel clutch was invented. And that was the Iron Sheik. I mean, he was around at a time in the industry that it was not easy being in the industry. Um, he has always, in my opinion, started the groundwork for WWE when it was the World Wrestling Federation. You know what I mean, Tony? I mean, this was a guy that gave his life to this business, and I think I can speak for you when I say that, our prayers and our thoughts go to his family during this time and for WWE. I mean, this was a guy that laid down the work back in the World Wrestling Federation and gave the foundation for it to become WWE. I mean, he was just one of those, even though he wasn't really big when it came to like championship wins and all that, though, he was still very instrumental and a huge part uh, of all the benefits that was given to this company when they really needed a lot of help trying to pick itself up off the ground for Vince McMahon.
And think about a time where, we're talking about social media and things like that earlier, but think about a time where faces and heels weren't allowed to ride in the same
Yeah,
car after the show because they didn't want to ruin the illusion for the
sure.
fans out there. But when you
Yeah.
talk about a finishing maneuver, the camel clutch, what kid, at least of my generation, as a kid, didn't attempt to put one of their friends or their siblings in a camel
No
clutch in the
kidding,
middle
you
of their
know?
living room? I mean, it's ubiquitous.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've ever done it, but I'm gonna agree with you and say that you have, because you've got some more history in life than I do right now. Um, Sorry, but Tony, I guess before we get into Night of Champions and Raw and SmackDown, I kind of want to ask you this, because you've grown up in the beginning when it was Shawn Michaels, when it was Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, the Ultimate Warrior. Like, I'm just listing names, you know. What was your experience with watching the Iron Sheik, and what did you take away from him, not just being in the ring, but the career and legacy he left behind?
Well, he was a lot of people don't realize that he was a legit athlete over in the Middle East before even coming here and becoming a professional wrestler. So he is not unlike a Kurt Angle or a Mark Henry, where it's a little lesser known, but he brought those credentials to professional wrestling. And as a heel, just perfect timing with the Cold War and things going around in the country and veterans coming back from the Middle East, where people legitimately, he was one of those bad guys that needed to get actual security escorts from the building because he could potentially get shanked in real life by some disgruntled veteran. I mean, talk about just being able to be a heel to the T. That's what you had in Iron Sheik.
I couldn't have said that, Tony, any better. I would don't have anything else to add on top of that, because I think you hit the nail on the head, and I'm going to show you a lot of love and respect by just leaving that alone.
And for a
You
younger
know?
generation, he's the one that turned The Rock on to the word jabroni. So if you
Oh,
say jabroni or you said jabroni as a kid, you owe that to the Iron Sheik.
he really was the one that gave The Rock jabroni.
Yeah. Well, set it around Rock and The Rock's dad. And The Rock did ask his permission when he started cutting promos and becoming a little bit more professional.
Wow, that's
Can I
crazy.
use what I've heard you say, what you've laid down? Yeah, he was fine with The Rock taking over the word jabroni, which was part of Iron Sheik's regular vernacular between, friends and other wrestlers. He would call them jabronis. And The Rock picked that up and incorporated that into his promos in the Attitude Era.
Well, Tony, as I just said a minute ago, I've I'm going to give you just love and respect and just leave that alone, because you gave the best I think you could have given for Iron Sheik. You had more experience than me with watching him. So I thank you for the fact that you gave a nice heartfelt tribute there, because you know what? That means a lot, knowing the fact that to our audience and to our listeners and our viewers, we are honest when it comes to our broadcast. And, if someone sucks, we're going to say that they suck. And if we love somebody, we're going to say that we love
Yeah.
somebody. And I think that builds the bridge of trust that we need when it comes to not just this show, but also to the credibility of Rhode Island broadcasting and being able to make this company a little bit stronger, make it better. So trust me, that means a lot. Hearing someone like you that has all that type of I'm not gonna say vibrato. I'm actually just gonna say knowledge and wisdom, because you definitely have a lot of it. So thank you for sharing that, Tony.
Useless knowledge, but knowledge nonetheless.
Useless knowledge. No, 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 no. Honestly, just you being with me right now, you've already brought credibility to this thing anyway, so you don't have to worry your head about that at all. Um, but speaking of legacies here, um, I figured maybe I'll just combine Raw and SmackDown here together. Um, so and this kind of ties into Night of Champions. So the aftermath with all this that we can look back on is this, Tony. So one of our predictions that we had was this: between Seth Rollins and the phenomenal AJ Styles for the returning World Heavyweight title. Here's the truth. We said whoever wins this will be happy because it was two guys that deserved it. But
yeah,
with Styles being on SmackDown, whoever won this was going to be exclusive to Raw. And I said on the broadcast, I had a hunch that Rollins would win this just because he's on Raw, but also
yeah,
because they could put out a banger of a 30-minute match. And it was. I mean, I can't believe how over Rollins is. I dare say he's even more over than he's been his entire career. I've never seen him that loved
yeah.
by the WWE Universe that much. Like, it's awesome to just see how far Rollins has come. And also, you and I were talking about the history between Rollins and Styles because that goes back to 2006 when Rollins was 19 in the NWA. Like, it goes all the way back to that indie
Way
circuit,
back, yeah.
Like, it goes back to that indie circuit.
And listen, it's one thing to be over in your hometown and over in America, but when you're over in Saudi Arabia, that kind of puts you in a new stratosphere as far as
Stratosphere.
popularity goes. So, you called it. If I was a gambling man, I would have put my money on you. You called it perfectly on that one. And if you look back on the record, I was kind of pulling a little bit for AJ
Yeah,
Styles, but
same here.
yeah, I mean, not a bad minute in that match. And I'm a little ADHD, so longer matches, I start to wander a little bit. A squirrel
Sure.
goes by and I get distracted. But for the length that match was, the whole thing was pretty
That
good.
match was great. Like, it really was. And then going down the line here, Tony, Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. I picked Becky to win that one. It was a shame she didn't. Um, Outside interference from NXT's Noah Stark, who got called up from the women's division. I think we're going to see a part 2 at SummerSlam. I really do. I think something's going to happen
Yeah.
here. And speaking of Becky Lynch too, she qualified for Money in the Bank. That's on Saturday, July 1st in London, England. WWE returns to London. I like that.
Yeah.
But Lynch being at Money in the Bank, I think that's huge. And also for all of you listening too, as we get closer, we can't wait to give our predictions for Money in the Bank, especially once we know who's in the match entirely. Oh, can we not wait? We cannot
The
wait.
Bank is
Trust
quickly
me, I can.
becoming one of my favorite pay-per-views. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that pay-per-view has always been a favorite of mine. Like, even, well, the thing is, it was actually a favorite when I saw, hang on. Well, granted, some winners were iffy, some were great. I mean, some of them made sense, some of them didn't. But it's always been a great pay-per-view because you see a lot of things that you wouldn't normally see in regular things for WWE. So I think we can look at that. It's just cool to see that. And then Gunther defended the Intercontinental title. He defeated Mustafa Ali. I saw that coming. I got that one right. Tony, Gunther, how you pronounce his name? What the hell? I think he's about to hit a year's reign in
Yeah.
WWE. I think he's going to hit a year's reign. Oh, and by the way, Kenneth Sheffield gave a comment regarding that. Thank you, Chris Jericho, for Million in the Bank. Yeah, you know what? Tony, when you think back to who created the ladder matches for WWE and gave that idea, it's guys like Chris Jericho, it's guys like Edge and Christian, Shawn Michaels. You think back on that and you thank those guys, the Hardy Boys,
Yeah.
the Dudley Boys, like the Attitude Era created those moments.
Holly Boys, definitely. Yeah.
Yep. And I was happy there. Here's the shocker: Bianca Belair's 420-day reign as Raw Women's Champion ended. Asuka is once again champion. I was surprised because she was drafted to SmackDown. I actually thought it was going to be her going after Ripley. Maybe it'll happen, not sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, that match was very interesting from a perspective there, And then, of course, Rhea Ripley defeated Natalya to retain the SmackDown Women's title. Don't even worry about that. That was a squash. I don't really care about that. The next one down the line, though, Tony.
We saw that coming, yeah.
Yeah, Tony, we got to talk about this one. Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. That, by the way, is going to have a part 3 rumored for SummerSlam. Cody lost via pass out. He didn't tap out. I said pass out. I couldn't believe this, Tony. That Monday Night Raw that week, WWE Medical confirmed that Cody Rhodes had a fracture in his left arm. Plain English, the guy broke his arm. Plain English. I don't know if that was just storyline injury, but if you got a fracture, fill in the blank. You know what I mean? Like, I get some injuries are scripted. I get that. Key fobbed. I get it, whatever. But what a lot of people don't understand about this business is these aren't actors. These are athletes trained. But one slip of the foot, and you're on the operating table or your career's over.
Yeah.
That's why I get so hot when people say it's fake. No, it's not. I would dare anybody to know how they could fall off a 20-foot ladder, crash to a table, and finish a match. You can't say that's fake.
Or even Brock Lesnar getting busted open the hard way. I mean, yeah.
Right, Tony? Like,
There's
I'm just
no way
saying.
to fake that much blood. You know, people sometimes think it's fake blood or, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, I'm telling you, you can't fake figuring out how to land on concrete. And you know what? There's an old saying, if it looks like it hurt, I guarantee it hurt. You know what I mean? If it looks like it hurt, it hurts.
If you have to ask, you know the answer.
Exactly. You know, that was a 30-minute match. Cody had a lot of balls, guts. You know, it brings me back to when he had a torn pec at Hell in a Cell a year ago, and he actually won against Seth Rollins. I mean, he beat him 3 times in 1 year. Funny how that's reminiscent of Batista Triple H 2005. Won at WrestleMania, won at Backlash, won a Hell in a Cell. Think about that. Similar. But for Cody, I think the story is going to be written properly for him. He has to be world champion at some point. Like it would be a shame and a damn travesty if he wasn't. But yeah, as we get closer to like Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, we'll definitely keep you guys updated on that. But Tony, the main event, I couldn't believe it. I called it, Tony, didn't I? I said it. I called it.
Yeah, again.
And it happened. The bloodline has officially been finished. So Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they retained their tag team titles. Thank God. I mean, Tony, we knew that Reigns wasn't going to be a tag team title holder. I mean, we knew he wasn't going to have 3 belts. It's stupid. And what happened was the Usos were told to not interfere in that match. Owens is getting ready to do a pop-up powerbomb on Reigns. Here comes the double super kick. Bang. He's out. Sami Zayn gets hit by Jay. Then Jimmy. They both go for the double again. Hits Solo. They get pie-faced by Reigns, and Jimmy Uso does the unthinkable. # super kicked herd worldwide.
Yeah.
Hello. I was in my bed, Tony, literally trying to not wake up my mom across the room. I swear. Like, I was watching it in my bed. I was comfy. I was like, please don't win. Please don't win. And I see the kick. I'm like, I was raising my fist. I was like, I was like, yes. I was like, oh, thank God. I was right. Jimmy did it again. And his explanation on SmackDown, Jay and him are off. At least we hope. But here's the problem, Tony. Well, we're going to find out sooner than later if Jay's going to run back to Roman. I don't think so. Solo did, whatever. But you know what? It's predicted that for Money in the Bank, Usos versus Reigns and Solo. Finally, we see the bloodline done after Reigns being an absolute piece of trash to his own family. I'm like, you know what? This guy's going to get dethroned, and he's going to be gone at some point. I mean, the thing is, Tony, congrats on 1,000 days. Whoop-de-doo. But you know what, though, Tony? There comes a time where the act gets too old on repetition. You have to move on. You have to get rid of it.
Yep.
Reigns has to get dethroned. He has to get dethroned. But, you know, obviously we'll talk more about him and cross that later on. But the thing with Money in the Bank, Tony, is it's interesting now. Is someone going to challenge Reigns or challenge Rollins? But you know what? I think if you're smart.
Or a double main event.
That's true. What if the Money in the Bank winner faces one champion, he loses, and he cashes in on someone else? Yeah, that's true. But you know what?
They cash in. Yeah.
But also, here's the thing. Reigns got a new belt, and it said Undisputed Champion. I didn't really understand that. I mean, does that mean that the WWE Championship is gone? The Universal title is gone? I don't know. But you know what? I think if he gets dethroned, that title is coming back. I think, you know what, Tony? Here's the truth. Get rid of the Universal title, bury it somewhere, and get it back to where it should be. World Heavyweight title on Raw, WWE Championship SmackDown. That's how it should be for WWE. No more Universal bull crap. None of that.
Yeah.
I mean, how you feel about that?
And that's how it gets on the indies sometimes, where sometimes these smaller federations, they have so many belts where it's like every guy that comes through the curtain has a belt around his waist. You know, at some point, a big belt like that should mean something. It should be the main event.
Sure. I agree. I mean, I got to say real quick on a funny note here to kind of like make things a little lighthearted for you. Did you watch Raw Monday? Miss TV. Cody and Dominic with Stereo. Did you see the end of that segment and what he said? That's got to be one of the most savage insults of the year. I was laughing my ass off so bad. I was like, finally, someone puts this cocky you-know-what in his place. Finally. I was so happy. I'm like, you know what? That was genius. Whoever, I think probably he wrote that or something. Like, that was genius. I mean, think about it. You and I, we're having a lot of fun with this. Because you get Impact, AW, Raw, SmackDown. I mean, think about it. This is the summer where it's great to be a wrestling fan. You're 100% right. But I said this, Tony, on my radio broadcast. I'm done with sports on WBOB when I wrapped it up this week. I said, this could be an interesting summer for WWE. This might actually be the summer that could be the turning point or the breaking point for this company. I really think Reigns is going to get dethroned. I don't know when, but they have to get this belt off him. Don't know how. But you know what? If Cody's going to finish the story, have him finish it. I don't care if that means he's World Heavyweight Champion. I don't care. Just let him finish the story. You know, it's just hard sometimes when you look at a guy and you're like, yeah, he's going to be great. And then you're like, nope, guess not. And you're like, what the hell, man? You know, like.
Could you have imagined the fan reaction if Roman Reigns had 3 belts? And like I said in that broadcast that we did, there was a little piece of me that said the company really does like this guy so much and they love to shove him down the fans' throats that they may be thinking this guy actually deserves to have 3 belts around his waist. So I was nervous about that one.
Let me tell you something. The only guy that actually deserved to have that was 2007 in TNA with Kurt Angle. He was TNA champion, X Division champion, tag team champion. 2007 was when
Yeah.
Kurt Angle brought this company to higher heights. Reigns is not on the level of a Kurt Angle. I'm sorry. When you think about guys, greatest of all time, technical, bust their ass in the ring, and wrestles every night, Kurt Angle. One of the greatest to
Yeah.
ever
And
be.
again, was a legit athlete first.
Angle is a legitimate monster. Yeah, like wrestling machine, But I'll tell you, Tony, sometimes it's tough being a fan of WWE when you're like, can you just get rid of this guy or just take something off him or give him a challenger that can actually beat his ass? I mean,
And
everyone
listen,
says Cody should have won at WrestleMania,
at least nowadays with technology and Peacock and all of those things, I get to fast forward through all those guys that suck. Back in the day when I was just watching on cable TV, you just had to sit there and take it on the chin. You just watched the show.
I love that. Yeah, I feel
Or
that.
in the pay-per-view days, I paid $60 to see a guy I didn't like.
That had to suck. Obviously, things are cheaper now, thankfully. But anyway, Tony, so I think what we have for our next broadcast, our next time will be for WWE Raw and SmackDown updates. AEW as we get closer to TD Garden and Impact. Maybe you'll give the results of Against All Odds. I just want to ask, do you have like any closing thoughts here, by any chance?
Just a few really cool local shows coming up. Showcase Pro Wrestling in Woonsocket. They're based in Woonsocket. They have a show this Saturday in Taunton. Fight Life has a show June 14th in Rehoboth. The kind of OG of local federations, New World Wrestling Extreme, they have a show on June 17th in Central Falls. And then I was talking a little bit last time about Contropolis happening June 16th and 18th in Marlborough, Mass. They just added Jake the Snake Roberts to their lineup. So yeah, if you want to see hyper local wrestling too, there's all kind of stuff going on this summer.
Wow,
and that's just June and July.
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah. Jake the Snake Roberts, Scott Steiner, and The Godfather so far as wrestling goes for that convention. So, and usually, they have all the wrestlers sit together, so that should be a little interesting corner of the convention, I can only assume.
So, Tony, so let me get this straight. You've got the man that invented the DDT. You've got Big Papa Pump. And the man that started the whole train.
And a man whose gimmick you could not even have today because the censors would be turning off the program.
No kidding. Oh, man. You guys remember the Attitude Era. Thankfully, I wasn't around for that because I probably wouldn't be allowed to watch it anyway. But thankfully, I could go back as I got older. As I got older, I'm like, whatever.
It was a bad influence.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? It's tough sometimes being a fan, but there's also a lot of great times when you are a fan, But Tony, seriously, thank you so much for being here, brother. Once again, you and I are that 1-2 punch, and trust me, you and I always have fun, and this is a great time for us. Hope we can keep on building this foundation up, and to all of you, thank you guys so much for being a part of our base and growing our stuff here. And like I said, as I'm about to wrap up here. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. So feel free to share this out as much as you guys can. Spread the word out. Every Wednesday at 5, we are Falls Count Anywhere. And we are your up-to-the-date information on the Indies, AEW Impact, and, of course, WWE. And to our viewers that are here, thank you so much. To our listeners off of Twitch, our comments off of Facebook, thank you guys so much for being a part of our journey. Keep on the comments as we better our show and our program. But, our next broadcast, we're going to dive back into WWE and get some more updates for you guys regarding Money in the Bank on July 1st. And then, Tony, you're going to get in with Against All Odds. Maybe do a little more TNA history because that was a lot of fun. and
Yeah.
updates on AEW and for the Indies. So, Tony, thank you so much for being here, man, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so
Good stuff.
absolutely. So, guys, on behalf of my dad, Edward Dunn, Mr. X Jr., the man over here, Tony Jones, this is Eric Dunn saying so long and thank you so much. Broadcasting from my home, well, at least where I am, in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Thank you guys so much for being here. This has been a presentation of Falls Count Anywhere here on the Rhode Island Broadcasting Network. We'll see you guys next Wednesday at 5, same place, same station. And thank you guys so much for watching and listening.